Good morning. Oh no, I need y'all to wake up a little bit for me. I feed I feed off of energy. Good morning. First, I would like to say thank you to Miss Susan and her amazing team for putting this on. I just heard that she's been doing this for 22 years. Give them a round of applause, y'all. I met Miss Susan so many years ago. It's been at least maybe 7, 8, 9+ years. And during that time that I met her, I actually was in my building process. So when I met her and I found out exactly what it was that she does, she helps put on these conferences and it's targeted towards bringing awareness towards foster care children, and not just foster care children, just working with the workers and the leaders in the organizations that deal with foster care youth. I was already sold into the initiative, right? So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Terrica Lynn Smith. I am a foster care alumni. I say that proudly because I am a statistic breaker. I am one who broke the statistics that is typically placed on foster care children. Yes. And so with that, we all have a story. Each and every last child that you deal with have a story. On the screens, you can see quite a few of the things that I've accomplished. You've seen a lot of things that I actually had to overcome. But I found out from Ms. Susan that this theme was themed with bees in mind. And I was like, oh my goodness, how am I gonna put together a speech in regards to bees? Like how can bees and what we're doing, how can that mirror each other? And so I went and did my homework. Anytime someone asks me to speak, I take it very seriously. I don't want to just share my story. I want my story not to inspire you, but to change you. I want for every life that you touch, every child that you're involved in, I want for you to be that difference maker in their life. So standing here is a full circle moment for me. I was in foster care for more than 12 years. Today, as we gather to share stories, to learn and to grow and to discuss the important work being done for foster care children, I want us to inspire one another with fresh ideas and even the stories that you guys hear today. I'd like to take a moment to share my journey as a foster care alumni. I learned that this year theme is inspired by bees and how they're so much alike foster care children such as myself and leaders such as yourself. I learned also that there is a community that's here in this room that works together, that supports each other, that stands together, and it reminds me of a hive. In a beehive, every bee has a job, from the queen bee to the worker bees. Each and every last one of you keep the hive strong. Just like that, you all have roles as foster care social workers, and some of you in here, if you're foster care parents. Yeah, many of you may do different things, but at the end of the day, you're all working towards the same goal, making sure that every child has a chance to thrive in life. That is why I believe Ms. Susan created this amazing conference called Together We Can. When I think of a beehive, I see a safe place, a place where bees come together, supporting one another to ensure everyone thrives. As someone who has experienced the foster care system firsthand, I can tell you how vital it is to create the same type of environment for foster care children. The hive, the community, it's the protection that's needed. They need to feel seen. Foster care children need to feel heard, and most importantly, they need to feel valued. Till this day, I still remember my social worker, Miss Mary Matthews. She was my superhero at the age of 8 years old. She made me feel seen, and she made me feel heard. I was what the foster care system called a runaway. I was that child that was hard to place. But when I would run away, I will call her on a payphone, and it did not matter what time of day or night it was, she was always on her way. She was always there for me. I believe today that there are some Miss Mary Matthews in the crowd. I believe that truly within my heart. Whether you're a social worker or a foster care parent, you have some Miss Mary Matthews inside of you. You are superheroes to individuals that you don't even think about. Meaning that your heart is still in it. Meaning you want to save the children's lives that come across your desk. Which means you are working early and you're staying late. Which means you're answering the calls, and no matter how frustrated you may be at that child, you will not let it show. They're not just another case that's on your desk. They are an assignment that has been assigned to you by God. And each and every last child that's in your case, that's on your desk, you should remember that you are anointed to handle that child. Each and every last one of you. You may not see the cape in the physical, but in the spiritual, there are some superheroes in this room that's changing the lives of children all around this world. I need for you to give yourself a round of applause, because I believe that there's some Miss Mary Matthews in this room. I know a lot of times it seems like your work go unseen. I know a lot of days you come home frustrated and tired because they're wearing you out, and you don't know if you can get through to them. You don't know if they are hearing you. You don't know if you're making a difference. But can I ask you a question? Are you still in it? Are you still in it? I need to know, because sometimes we get burnt out and we feel drained and we feel like we're getting through this so we can retire. But I'm telling you that there's an anointing on your life, and the reason why you've been called to this particular child, and I'm sure you're visualizing the one that I'm talking about right now, the one that you're always getting a call where you happen to constantly replace them over and over again. There's an anointing on your life that has led that child to be in your presence. So because there's an anointing on your life, that is your assignment. You are assigned to that child. I believe in this hive, in this conference, in this room, in this state, in this world, together, we can change the lives of foster care youth. If my superhero, Miss Mary Matthews, could stand and change just one life, if she can look at me now, if she can see what that hug did when I needed it the most, if she can see her telling me that I was beautiful, no matter what everybody else said, she refused to call me bad. And y'all, I was bad as hell. I mean, I know I was bad, okay? But she refused to put the title on me. She was anointed to handle me. She was anointed to work with me. She was anointed to be my social worker. I don't know about you guys. I don't even know if you know how important that anointing is on your life. But I'm telling you, whenever you are anointed, the things that you're going through personally, you're going to be taken care of, because the Bible tells us, press down, shaken, and runneth over. Your runneth over portion is going to come because you are operating in your assignment. You are operating in your God-willing gift. You are saving lives, and we're called to do that. And because you're doing that, there's something that's going to run over, whether it's your finances right now. You're staying in this job and it's not making ends meet. But I'm telling you, you're about to see a run over in your finances because of your obedience. You're about to see a run over in your marriage because of your obedience. You're about to see a run over in your children's life. They can't understand why you work so much. There's going to be a run over in their lives. Things are going to change in your life. So then I go into the pain of separation. In a beehive, each bee plays a specific role. One rely on another to maintain the hive's health and functionality. When a bee is separated from its hive, whether due to environmental factors or disturbances, it can experience disorientation and distress. This mirrors the feelings of foster children who are often separated from their families and their familiar environments. Just as bees may struggle to survive alone, foster care children can feel lost and vulnerable when removed from their family, even though it was a toxic situation. The hive represents a community where every member contributes to the well-being of the group. When that community is disrupted, both bees and children can suffer emotional pain from the loss of connection and belonging. I'll never forget my separation story. I remember at 5 years old, my mother was gone. She was gone, it felt like for days at a time. But maybe it was 3 days, I'm not sure. And she left me and my sisters in this house. And we had no water, we had no power, we had no food. I remember probably by the third day, my oldest sister was sitting on the sofa and she would swallow a penny and bring it back up just so she can keep us entertained. Because we started crying because we were hungry and we were thirsty, but we were told we bet not leave out that house. So if we left out that house, we knew that we would get in trouble. How many of you know back in the day, them neighbors paid attention? They'd be watching everything you do. Girl, them children was outside the other day. Lord forbid they get back to my mother. And so I remember at the age of 5 years old, my sister, my baby sister, she was crying hysterically. She was hungry. And I was like, if we don't do something, if we don't find something to eat, we are going to die. Now, at 5 years old, I had no knowledge of what was good for me to eat and or what was bad. I just knew we needed to swallow something. I remember walking through the front door. Imagine being in a pitch black house, completely dark, no power. She got the foil on the window so you can't see inside. And I open up the front door and the sun hits me. It's almost like it blinds me because your eyes have to readjust to the sunlight that you haven't seen for days. And my heart is beating uncontrollably out of my chest because I am nervous that she's going to see me or a neighbor is going to see me going outside. And I didn't run to a neighbor house to ask them if they can give us something to eat. I ran and grabbed the first thing I seen, 2 hands full of grass. And I ran back inside. And I looked at my sisters and I said, we're going to eat this tonight. Tonight we're going to eat this. My baby sister said, I'm not going to eat this. I said, if we do not eat this, we will die. Now, I didn't know grass was not supposed, I didn't know it couldn't be eaten. Horses eat it, you know. So I didn't know. I just knew that we had to do something. My mother had a half-empty can of beer on a nightstand, and it stayed there for days. Mind you, she left us in the house for days. So we passed that beer can around, and we all shared that one can of beer. It was a little corner that was left to help us with our thirst. A few days later, she returned home. The thing is, when you are a child of an addict, you never know who's going to walk through that door. We were always terrified because if it was the monster coming in, she was full of rage, she was full of anger. She was looking for ways to torment us and hurt us. But if she had her fix, then she came in, she was anxious, but she would rearrange the whole house. She would re-clean a clean house constantly over and over again, but we never knew who to expect. So when she came back in, she was agitated. It was a different type of agitation. So I remember her calling my siblings' godmothers, asking them to come get them. It was just me and her left in the house because I didn't have a godmother at that time that she could call. So she was stuck with me. But right before my siblings left with their godmother, she noticed that the can of beer that was on her dresser was now empty. She was pissed. She was furious. She said, "Who drank my beer?" And me and my sisters are standing there shaking. And I look at my baby sister, and she's wetting herself because she can't take a beating. And I look at my oldest sister, and she's sitting with her arms like this. And I'm 5 years old. And I said, I have to take the charge. I have to do it because my sisters, they can't deal with this. They can't go through this no more. So I said, I did it, Mom, I did it. She said, you nappy-head bastard, I'm sick and tired of you. You're just like your daddy. You ain't gonna be nothing in life. She took me, she beat me until I laid on the floor in the fetal position. After my siblings, godparents came and got her, I was in the back room. I tried to stay out of her way because I didn't know what she would do to me next. So once I go in the back room, I hear a very loud bang on the door. Boom, boom, boom. I know you in there, open this door. And I peep out, I see she's scared. And so she opened up the door and she tell him she don't have his money. She like, I don't have it. I promise you I'm gonna get your money. I promise you I'm gonna get your money. And so he sees me. And she knows exactly what it means at this moment. She grabs me by the hand and she says, Terrica, come, I need for you to be a big girl now. I need you to be mommy big girl. I wanted her to say that for so many years because she never complimented me. She never told me I was beautiful. She never seemed like she had a happy moment that I was ever born. So when she grabbed me by the hand and she said, I want you to come with me. I want you to be a big girl. I just felt so excited. And then she shifted my hand to Big D. And as I'm looking back and she's sitting on the floor, I begin to see her inhale with the pipe as her eyes roll in the back of her head. And I begin to say, Mama, I'm sorry. I won't drink that beer again. Mama, I'm sorry. I promise I won't go outside again. Mama, I'm sorry. Mama, please. Mama, please. Please, Mama, please. As I'm pleading for her and she's on the floor and she's now high, I remember reaching back with one arm trying to stay with her. At the age of 5 years old, he took me in the bathroom and he took my innocence. I remember screaming and crying and passing out, going to a place called Terrica Lynn. Terrica Lynn was a place that I created inside of my head where all the children in the world had parents. They had a mom, they had a dad. They walked around with candy canes. It almost looked like a carnival. It was such a happy place. So while my body is being devoured, I am in Terrica Lynn. My hand is still reaching for the bathroom doorknob because I just want to leave, but I'm in Terrica Lynn. And by the time he finished with me, I stayed on that floor. Now you have to remember, right before I was raped, I was just beat. I still have the marks on my arm to this day. Laying on that bathroom floor, I knew I wanted my mother to die. I created a hate so deep down on the inside of me that I refused to allow anybody else to get close to me. I will never forget the sound of the bathroom door closing behind me. I will never forget reaching for that doorknob. I will never forget begging for my mother. I will never forget saying, I promise to be a good girl. I will never forget the pain of being destroyed. I will never forget the fetal position that I remained in for hours. I will never forget when my mother looked at me and told me to get up off that floor. I will never forget the day that I wanted to die. A few days later, my father and my grandmother came to the house and seen that me and my siblings were left inside. By this time, my siblings had came back. We still had no food, we had no water, we had no power. I was so excited to see my father because he was not active in my life. So before they could even say, let's go, I was already inside the car. I knew I didn't want to stay in this hellhole anymore. I could never tell anyone what happened to me because that drug dealer said that he would kill me and that he would kill my mother. So I kept the story on the inside. Shortly after living with my grandmother and my dad, I realized my father had the same addiction as my mother. He never sexually abused us, none of his children, but my goodness, he was the Grinch. He stole every single gift up under that Christmas tree that my grandmother bought. He stole every single piece of meat out the freezer that she purchased. There was nothing he would not take. In fact, he took 4 tires off her car and left it on cinder blocks. He had no limits to what he would steal. A few years later, my grandmother took very sick. She was the only one that held me and my sisters together. Everybody else, who remember those SSI checks back in the day? Right? When the kids used to get them, used to tell them kids, hey, you better play crazy when you go up there so you can get that check. Y'all stop acting brand new in this room. Y'all know that has taken place. Right? We used to have to perform when we go to the Social Security office so they can keep giving us that check at the first of the month. But my grandmother was one who took us regardless of if they gave her a check or not. But after my grandmother died, my father went further into drugs, and we bounced from one family member to the next. But each and every last one of them wanted a check. After a while, Child Protection stepped in. They ended up separating me and my sisters, and this is what I call the separation of the bees, where it's disrupted. It's chaos now. It's confusing. A lot of these kids that you have case numbers for have stories just like mine. They've also faced abuse that cuts deep, leaving scars that often go unseen. This isn't just physical pain. The emotional toll is so heavy. The trauma that we carry feels like a backpack full of bricks. Then there's the separation from our families. Although my family was so toxic, I still wanted to be there. I know some of you may have asked, how could they even want to remain in this environment? Why are they treating me like I'm the bad person and I'm here trying to find them a forever family? You feel like that, if we're being truthful. It's unimaginable, and it makes us feel like we don't belong anywhere. It's called separation anxiety. Do you know what it's like to have a birthday and not having a mommy or daddy there? What about Christmas, when you see other children thanking their moms and dads, and yet as foster care children, we got to go around to different organizations as if we're a showcase, and they give us a bag full of gifts with a tag on it. Not that I'm not grateful, please don't think that. But you have to be wondering what's going on in that young child's head when they see other children with their moms and dads, and yet we're at the Salvation Army collecting our gifts. How about the feeling when you have to go and check out the child from school and they say, your guardian is here? I would never forget how deep that cut me. Guardian. I remember a little girl asked me whenever they called on the intercom, Terrica, your guardian is here to check you out. The little girl said, what is a guardian? I said, I don't know. It's better to say I don't know than to say my mom and dad didn't want me. The embarrassment, the instability, the loneliness, you can't ignore it. Please don't overlook the stigma that comes with being in foster care as social workers. The feeling of being judged or labeled, which only adds to our loneliness. They need to know that they're not alone and that there's a community that got their backs. And although you guys can't replace mommy and daddy, you surely can become their superhero. You can be the superhero in their story just like Miss Mary Matthews is a superhero in my story. You can heal some of the separation anxiety that they feel. Remember, you may be the first person that they come in contact with. Raise your hand if you have to deal with a foster care child in this room. Raise your hand. You are important. Your role matters. Let me encourage you, if I can. But before I encourage you, can I deal with the elephant that's in the room? Some of the children are just filled with rage, and oftentimes they take it out on you. You become their punching bags. How many of you have become their punching bags? Raise your hand, just be honest. If we're being honest right now, you have become their punching bag. You the one that they mad at. You the one that they cursing out. You the one that they're frustrated at. They blame you from taking them from their family. But again, you are anointed to help that child. I believe that there's an anointing on your life that has caused you to come face to face with a giant. And this giant is orphan syndrome. Orphan syndrome is a real syndrome that's not talked about enough. But I believe that some of you have the strength of David inside of you. And I don't know if you know the story of David and Goliath. But I can tell you now that the story and the circumstances and the things that these children have gone through is a Goliath. But if you got those 5 smooth stones in your hand and you just pull it back and you start slaying every single thing that the enemy meant for bad to take out that child, and you start replacing it with good, you start replacing it with hugs, you start replacing it with identity, telling them who their identity is, letting them know that they shall not be identified by their circumstances and where they are right now, letting them know that they can be anything in the world that they desire, letting them know that they can be the Harriet of their family and go back and get them whenever they get to freedom. If you can be the superhero in their lives, I'm telling you now, there is an anointing that you can cause generational curses to break off of that child. Literally. A lot of the kids that are considered extreme cases are the hardest to place. They have been through so much, and you only know what they tell you and or what's in the file. The feeling I remember the most when I was in foster care was not feeling heard. I would remember before Ms. Mary Matthews became my social worker, because I had a few of them. I bit, I kicked, I did all kind of stuff to my social workers. Lord forgive me, right? But with Ms. Mary Matthews, before her, they all would just read my case file in front of me to the foster mother. So the picture has already been painted of who's coming into their home. I never said a word about it. I let them believe what they want. But the emotion I expressed was anger. I used anger as a protection mechanism to keep me safe from being hurt again and again. I couldn't allow these strangers to hurt me. My mother hurt me, my father hurt me, my grandmother left me, me and my sisters are separated. I don't want to hurt again. So I build this wall up, and it's full of anger. So if you have a child that is acting out, running away, cutting themselves, hurting others, then just know you may not know the whole story, and you may never know the whole story. The only way to get that child to trust you is by being consistent, meaning how you respond is how you need to always respond. It took Ms. Mary Matthews a few years to get to me, to allow her inside my wall of protection, my secret place, my shelter. But once she got in, there was nothing she could do wrong in my eyes. If she asked me to be good, Terrica was being good. If she told me not to curse nobody out, I didn't say one curse word to nobody. If she told me not to run away, I stayed in that group home and I was behaving. She earned my trust by being consistent with me. Her emotions wasn't radical. Her emotions was consistent, and it was consistent with love. It was consistent with her hearing me. It was consistent with her listening to me. She never yelled at me. She never made me feel like it was my fault. She never blamed me for getting kicked out of the homes. We must have went through 10 homes, and that's not including group homes and mental facilities, but she was always there. I remember a time when she placed me in a group home in Winfield, Louisiana. How many of y'all heard of that place? The foster mother there was horrible, okay? Just horrible. Somebody say horrible, okay? She would starve and beat me. So one night, after she beat me, I went and got a bat and I beat her. Then I ran away to the neighbor house. She called the police and they called Miss Mary Matthews to come out. It was in the middle of the night, probably 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I can't really remember the time. I remember seeing Miss Mary and I was running to her and I was crying with tears. And I told her, I said, I really tried to be a good girl. She asked me what happened and I told her. She grabbed me by the arm and walked me over there by that foster lady, and I was scared. I never seen Miss Mary Matthews like this. I just knew she was about to change on me. I finally let her in, and now she's about to change on me. She's about to tell me that this is my fault and that I did something wrong. She asked me what happened, and as she grabbed me and walked me over there, after we got in front of the foster lady, she told her, you will never be able to hurt another child in your life. Do you know what you have done to her? I was about yay high looking up at Miss Mary Matthews. She was a middle-aged white woman that smoked a lot of cigarettes with that gray, dusty hair. And I remember looking up at Miss Mary Matthews, and I saw nothing but a hero. I saw nothing but a protector. I saw somebody that was stronger than me. I saw somebody that stood up for me, and I saw somebody did what my mother should have did for me. So after she told her that, she said, do you know what you have done to her? I remember thinking, wow, she's brave and she loves me. Trust me when I say every child pays attention to how you respond when you have to go get them out of a crisis. If you only listen to the foster mother and not hear that foster child out, and y'all, I had a track record. I was that, look, I'm telling y'all, I was bad. But when I beat this woman with the bat, I only gave her what she was deserving at that point in time. So I felt justified in my doing. But what I did not know was foster care parents could not hit children. They couldn't whoop them. I was not aware of that. So in that wrong is where Miss Mary came and stood up for me. So when I say they watch how you respond, you have to respond with love and you have to respond with care. And despite all the challenges, you have to hear their side of the story. The other part I loved about Miss Mary was that she knew how to discipline me gently. Now, Terrica, do you think that was the best way to handle that situation? Sometimes you guys are dealing with some leaders, children who had to be leaders at a very early age in their family. So you have to make a leader think that it's their idea. So when she asked me if I thought it was the best way to deal with a situation, it made me adjust myself and think, should I have handled it this way? Maybe I could have done something better. But now it's me saying I could have done something better versus her yelling at me saying you should have done better. So because she allowed me to have my own voice and find my own voice, she taught me how to communicate and to speak up and to see things in a different light. Even to this day, when I'm talking with my children, I said, could I have said that better? A lesson that was taught to me at 8 years old is still with me as a grown woman today. Bees communicate and work together to overcome challenges. Each and every last one of you should be in here working together to overcome challenges, finding out what works with one worker versus what works with another worker. I'm sure you guys got similar case studies and stories with the children that you guys are working with. But working together is building a stronger community. It's building that hive. It's building that protection. It's building that place where everyone can come together. We're all here for one reason, to change the lives of foster care children, to break the statistic that are already placed upon their lives. If you're not here to save a child, you're in the wrong room. I don't want to be ugly to nobody, but it's very personal to me. At this age in my life, I send 20 children to Disney World every single year that's in foster care. I have to get it approved by the judge. I sit on different boards that deal with different foster care children. Boys Town is one of the greatest organizations that I have served on. I actually was in that group home. Now I'm able to give back to the group home of where I come from. So remembering to create that community of hive. Somebody say hive. Then there's the honey, the sweetness of the connection, right? Bees make that sweet stuff, the honey, and it symbolizes all the good that comes from their hard work. In this world, that honey represents the relationships you are building with the children. Every single moment you spend with them is a chance to add some sweetness in their life. Somebody say, just add a little sweetness. Think of a child right now that you just want to add a little sweetness to. You know some of them need it. Just a little bit of sweetness. To really connect, you have to be transparent. Don't be a brick wall to these children. They can see straight through that. But if you are authentic with them, if you share with them how you genuinely care, and that they're not just another case on your desk, but that they are important. Do you know we don't care about no other case that you have? As a foster child, I'm just being honest. Have you ever heard one of your foster children say, I'm concerned about the other 43 cases on your desk? You're just not gonna hear that, right? In their mind, they think they're the only one, and that's the way you should make each and every last one of them feel. But let me say this, I know some of you are overworked because the amount of kids that are ending up in foster care, there's not enough foster homes for them. And you're doing your best to try to find them a place. You're doing your best to try to help them. You're doing your best to speak into their life. Can I tell you, just because you don't see it right now, don't forget the promise. Right now, the facts look like this child is going to end up on drugs, this child going to end up pregnant, this child going to end up a high school dropout. But the promises of God is greater than the facts that you see before your face. You cannot treat them like another file on your desk. Like a bee carefully gathers nectar, you should dig into their stories, listen to their dreams and fears. Do you know when you're struggling, you don't know how to dream? How many of you ever had a financial situation where you could not pay some bills and you were completely stressed out? Am I the only one that felt like that before? Oh, okay, I'm just checking, you know what I'm saying? And you're sitting there and you're like, God, how am I gonna get this done? How am I gonna be able to pay this? Like, where am I gonna get the money from for this? You're not saying, babe, I would love to go to Bora Bora. You is not dreaming at that point. You're like, I need to get this done. It's the same with foster care children. In the middle of the struggle, they don't know how to dream. So you have to give them that sweetness of a dream, a sweetness of who they can become. Give them a little nectar. Let them see what the good could be. And watch how they start opening up and becoming excited. A lot of foster care children feel like they're nothing because their parents didn't want them. And we all know that's not the truth. We all seen so many success stories. So many success stories of foster care children overcoming and becoming extremely successful. Antoine Fish is to name one of them, right? If you show you care, you can help turn their pain into strength. Just like nectar becomes honey through teamwork and dedication, together we can change lives. And then we have the pollination, spreading love and hope. Bees are also crucial pollinators, spreading life and growth wherever they go. In your roles, you can be the agent of change. You've got the power to inspire, to hope, to ignite the passion in the hearts of the children that you serve by encouraging dreams and helping them deal with the challenges and the strongholds. We plant seeds of possibilities, and why? I believe together, man, y'all gotta wake up. Together, we can. We can. Let's take a page from the bee's life. When we hit a wall, we adapt. When we hit a child that seems like a wall, we adapt. We find a way to tear those bricks down with that child. We learn and we come back stronger. By giving our children the tools and the confidence to face their struggles, we empower them to rise up and break statistics that have been placed on their lives. Statistics like 50% of foster care teens become pregnant by the age of 19. That was me. 50% of youth will not complete high school. I had to go back. And about 20% of foster care youth end up homeless. I remember when I was 17 years old, I had just had my son. And I was now at this point emancipated from the state because I was on runaway for so long. I was emancipated. And I remember sitting under the Claiborne Bridge in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I was holding my baby. My oldest son, he's turning 21 next month. And I was holding him. Thank you. Yeah, you can clap. Yeah. And I remember crying under that bridge because I had no one. I was homeless with my son. And all I seen was the image of my mother. I had tears of anger. I had tears of regret, tears of frustration. Every tear that fell down my face, it had a meaning. And I remember looking at that boy and I said, as long as I have air in my lungs, you would never experience homelessness again. You would never go to foster care. You would never have to go through what I've been through. My whole entire life, I have walked as a victim. But today, I'm going to get from up under this bridge, and I'm going to walk as a victor. And I'm going to be the best doggone mother to this child that he has ever seen in his life. I am a statistic breaker. I didn't break the statistics of becoming pregnant. I didn't break the statistics with the high school. I didn't break the statistics with the homelessness, but I did break the statistics of being a doggone good mother to my 4 children. I've been married for 20 years. My work has been recognized at the White House up under the Trump administration. I went from being homeless to building homes. I went from being homeless to naming my children names on street signs. I went from being frightened, scared, and alone to being frightened, scared, and alone no more. So for some of you that's out here right now, you're going to be a superhero in somebody's story, and they're going to stand from this pulpit, and they're going to tell you how you have changed their lives, how you have believed in them, and how you have allowed them to be a statistic breaker. I'm telling you right now, and this is for those of you who came here saying, I need some fresh air. I need a new wind. This is your second wind that's going out to you this year. In 2025, you're going to place these children, but not only are you placing these children, you're going to be a life changer in these children's lives. You're going to be the statistic breaker that breaks off these children, and you're going to be the reason why the cycle ends with them. There will never be another child that ends in foster care when they come up under your case. You're going to be the chain breaker. And if you're not excited about breaking the chains off of these children, then I'm telling you something is wrong. But if you are excited about breaking the chains off of these children, if you are excited about being the chain breaker, if you're as excited about seeing someone such as myself come from nothing, dealt the worst hand in life, should have gave up, should have took my life, should have quit, had every reason to be a victim. But instead, I chose to be a victor. I chose to fight for foster care children this day. I choose to go speak to foster care children and let them see what success is like. I choose to send them to Disney World so they can see what it's like to dream. I choose to be a part of their life because God dogged the cycle ended with me when it ran into me. Thank you so much. My name is Terrica Lynn Smith, and I appreciate you guys.
It's yours.